The iPhone 5, 2012's flagship iPhone. A phone that, back in the day, was ultra premium. It was thin, light, and, well, still is thin and light. Every phone you have these days is gigantic and heavy. But it was a flagship. And say what you will, it was one of the best phones you could buy. And so, 9 years later, how does it hold up? Well, if you want the short version, you shouldn't buy this phone. But if I haven't convinced you with that line, I'll explain why. The performance isn't unacceptable. It has 1GB of RAM, up from the iPhone 4's 512 megabytes. So it's acceptable, especially with some Android phones being released with 1GB of RAM. The battery life is terrible, but it's also got a very small battery. After all, this is what we accepted in 2012, and well, it hasn't carried over today with phones with 3000 milliamp hour batteries that are just huge, and some with 4 or even 5000 if you're insane. The price, I got this model for 20 quid. 15 quid without shipping, 20 quid shipping included. So it's a very cheap phone. So even if the battery is bad and performance is mediocre, surely this phone, well, it's still worth the money, right? Well, that's the interesting thing. It's not. Now, initially it might look like an incredible deal. 20 quid for an iPhone? The issue is you'd be better off paying a little bit more for an iPhone 5S, because even though both phones have a gigabyte of RAM, there's the iOS version that this is stuck on. This phone is stuck on iOS 10. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, most modern iPhones are on iOS 14. So new apps just don't work. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. You'll be lucky if you can find any with a version working on iOS 10. And the only way to get one working on iOS 10 is to already have another newer Apple device. And at that point, you may as well just use that newer Apple device. Now, say if you broke your phone and you needed a phone for a few days, this might make sense. But other than that very exoteric use case, you really shouldn't buy this phone. The apps don't work. The phone is old. It's seen its best years. And to be frank, an iPhone 5S or a Samsung Galaxy A10, that would serve you much better than this phone will. This phone is a little bit slow, but without apps, you could use it as a phone. And it's a good phone. It's just not a good smartphone anymore. So, in conclusion, you shouldn't buy this phone. Buy an iPhone 5S. It'll be slow, but you should get many more usable apps. Or if you can push it, an iPhone SE or an iPhone 6S if you can really find one for a good price. An iPhone 6S comes with iOS 14, so it's still usable. But this is an important piece of history. But it should stay in the past. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe.